Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back here with another Survivor burning question. And I'm really excited for this one here today to talk about something that was a big part of this week's Survivor episode. And that was the fake immunity idol. And I want to talk a little bit today about the history of the fake immunity idol. Of course, we have seen many great moments in the history of the show around the fake immunity idol. But I really wanted to go and take a deep dive into today. How much strategic benefit is there for players to have, to make, to plant the fake immunity idol? And that's going to be the subject of this deep dive into Survivor. These burning questions has been something that I just started doing this season. It's been one of the most fun things that I get to do as part of this job. So I'm really having a lot of fun with these, and I hope you are too. So let's take a look and talk about today's subject, the fake hidden immunity idol. Okay, for the sake of this conversation, I got to put some ground rules down in terms of what we're going to talk about here today. Just in the interest of time, I'm only talking about the US version of Survivor, 44 seasons of US Survivor. That's what we're talking about here today. There's been lots of different ways that fake hidden immunity idols have been played in international Survivor seasons. Don't want to spoil any of those for you. And also that I think this video would probably be about twice as long if I started to include a lot of the anecdotes from international Survivor play. So let's just focus on the evolution of US Survivor gameplay. Also, shout out to the Survivor Wiki that you can go ahead and get a lot of this information there as well, including every fake immunity idol that's ever been created on the show, both on screen and off. I'm really going to be focusing on the most important fake hidden immunity idols and only on ones that were shown in the show and not ones that were mentioned in exit interviews and stuff like that. So for the sake of this conversation, our conversation about the fake hidden immunity idol begins back in Survivor Fiji. And of course, most Survivor fans will remember that it was Yao-Man who created the first fake hidden immunity idol. It was a very humble fake hidden immunity idol. It was a smiley face in yellow paint on a coconut shell. I don't even think anybody found it. The Yao-Man's like, oh, look, it's a smiley face. Okay, fake hidden immunity idol. But the idea was planted in Ozzy's head. And really in Survivor Fans versus Favorites in Micronesia, that's where things are going to make a quantum leap when it comes to making the fake hidden immunity idol, because one of the most iconic moments in the history of the show, it's the effing stick, which is going to even come back itself in Survivor Ghost Island. The freaking fake hidden immunity idol is a returning player. Okay. That's how iconic it was. And this comes about back when Ozzy went to Exile Island. That's where the hidden immunity idol was hidden back in those days. He found the hidden immunity idol. He fashioned a stick. I think he might have also made a smiley face on the stick. Maybe that's a shout out to Yao-Man. He wrapped it in a cloth and planted it in the spot where he ultimately found the real hidden immunity idol, Jason Siska. He went there. He found it. He is like, aha, it's wrapped up in a cloth. This must be the fake hidden immunity idol. Him and Eliza, they are at the bottom at the merge. He wins individual immunity and says to Eliza, I will give you the immunity idol. And he gives it to her, and she immediately realizes it's an effing stick.
It's a stick, I know. It has a face on it.
And you know the rest. It's history. Eliza does go to the tribal council begrudgingly, says, I don't think this is real. Here it is. Jeff says, no, this is not the hidden immunity idol. Throws it in the fire. Everybody has a good laugh. But in that moment, Eliza is the one who says, well, then we obviously know that Ozzy must have the real one. And he's like, yeah, okay, yeah, you got me. So that lost in all of this, Ozzy a little bit gets hoisted by his own petard here of that he makes a fake immunity idol and everybody has a good chuckle. But then it also ends up being the evidence, which really indicts Ozzy that he has the real hidden immunity idol. Ozzy ends up being the person to be blindsided and goes out of the game next kind of a forgotten part of this story, and thus begins a little bit of the history of the fake hidden immunity idol, which creates great TV moments for not a ton of strategic gain, seemingly. The next big point in the history of the fake hidden immunity idol comes from Bob Crowley. Now, Bob Crowley is very important. Bob Crowley is going to make not one, but two fake hidden immunity idols in Gabon. The more famous of the two fake hidden immunity idols that Bob makes in Survivor Gabon comes when he goes to exile. He makes a fake immunity idol. He comes back. He shows it to Sugar, and Sugar says, "Oh, this will be hilarious. Let's give it to Randy. Randy, we're going to really stick it to Randy." And Bob, he's at the bottom with Randy and with Corinne, wants to curry favor with the majority. He goes along with the plan, and they give Randy the fake hidden immunity idol, not really for any strategic purpose other than, oh, this will be so funny when Randy goes to play the idol and then finds out it is not a real idol. And then ultimately, that, I mean, if we're going to go back to similarly, that maybe you could even say that in Survivor China, that Jamie Dugan plays a fake hidden immunity idol, and ultimately but nobody made it as a fake hidden immunity idol. It was just something that she thought was a real hidden immunity idol. But okay, survivors have seen this now, and we want to see Randy. Everybody laugh at Randy when he plays the fake hidden immunity idol. He does. Sugar is falling on the floor. Everybody has a big laugh. Now, Randy is furious about this. He brings it up in his final tribal council questioning. But to be fair to Bob, Bob is kind of annoyed about this also. That he comes back to the tribe and he's like, "Hey, if I knew it was going to be like this, I wouldn't participate in it. I don't really like any of this." And so Bob ends up going back to work. Okay. Everybody really remembers the Randy fake hidden immunity idol, but I think the more important fake hidden immunity idol ultimately ends up being the one that he makes then on the next vote, because he has more stuff, Bob. He's unstoppable, and him and Corinne are at the bottom. And so Bob comes up with a pretty good plan. And his plan is, okay, if I win individual immunity, which he does, then he comes up with a really elaborate story of the idol that Marcus threw away at the merge. Actually was in Marcus's pocket and now is in Bob's possession, and nobody got to see it. And Bob has Marcus's idol. And so now Bob and Corinne, Bob is immune. They're going to play the fake immunity idol, which only they know is fake, and tell people that it's real. And everybody's scrambling and they want to vote out Maddie. And this is actually a really good plan, and really the first strategic use of the hidden immunity idol. And so ultimately, they are trying to get Kenny and Crystal on board to vote out Maddie. However, Kenny and Crystal do one of the first successful vote splits to flush the idol, which they play it really well as if it is a real idol. And ultimately, Corinne doesn't stand up and play the idol. Corinne doesn't want to give them another laugh of then when Jeff throws Corinne's fake idol into the fire. And so ultimately, it doesn't work. But Bob is onto something. It's the first time we see players try to use the fake idol themselves like it's a real idol. It's a tool that you can use to bluff, and it's useful unless your bluff gets called. And another player who ends up being able to use a fake immunity idol for some strategic benefit, it's a guy who does not get a ton of credit for being a strategist. Roar! It's Rupert. Rupert in Heroes versus Villains. These fake idols, they don't have to be fancy. Rupert goes out and looks for the idol. Sandra's actually found it.
Even though I don't have an idol, maybe I can play like I do. I stuck me a rock in my pocket.
Rupert takes a rock, puts it in his pocket. Russell's like, I think Rupert, he's got the idol. Look at that rock. Look at how his cargo pants are sagging. And so this fake out it was enough of a bluff to get Russell to think that Rupert had the idol, and ultimately maybe saves Rupert here. Candace ends up going home. And so kudos to Rupert. Maybe the greatest strategic moment in the history of Rupert's Survivor career. And so that's where fake idols got us into the 20s. Now, in the 20s, we don't really see a ton of fake idols throughout the 20s. You know, we see a little bit more of, Russell and Malcolm are going to have the real idol and bluff whether or not they're going to use it. Abby Maria tries to embellish one of the advantages from the auction. Tony, he has the Tyler Perry idol, but it has expired. He tries to use it. That one I feel like is more of taking advantage of production than the other players, but I'll mention it here. Dale Wentworth in season 29, he finds a little trinket on the water well, tries to tell people it's a hidden immunity idol, almost works. But really, throughout the 20s, kind of a quiet time for the fake hidden immunity idol. That is until Joe Anglim comes along. And I think that Joe Anglim kind of brings it back. And Joe Anglim, he was a no-collar member of the tribe, that he was a jewelry designer by trade. So he comes into Survivor, and I think that he was itching to make fake immunity idol. At one point, Joe wins a reward, and in the reward, he gets a clue to the hidden immunity idol. He comes back to the camp, and him and Tyler go look for the hidden immunity idol. Mike Holloway, he's on it. He clocks it. They don't find the thing. They leave. Mike Holloway finds the real idol. Okay. Joe Anglim is on the ropes. Mike confronts Joe, who has been in the woods working on a fake idol. And Mike is curious, like, okay, Joe's been looking for an idol. Does he have an idol? He's like, I have an idol, but maybe Joe found another idol. And ultimately, Joe is like, okay, keep me safe tonight, and I'll give you my idol tomorrow. Mike says, no, give me your idol tonight, and then I'll keep you safe. Joe ultimately agrees to this. Usually, this is a good sign that somebody does not have a real idol if they're willing to trade for the exact thing that the idol does. Like that, if this was a real idol, I think it's like, I'm just going to play the idol tonight. Okay, rather than I'm going to give it to you if you keep me safe. So Mike, he plays it on Will Sims too. Jeff says, no, sorry, this is not a real idol. Joe gets voted out of the game. Okay, but now the hidden immunity idol, it's hot again. In Second Chances, Kelly Wentworth, her dad tried to do this in San Juan del Sur. She does make a fake idol, except she uses it on maybe the wrong person or has maybe the wrong ally for this, because at the final 5, she tries to protect Keith Nail. Her and Keith, they're down in the numbers, 3 versus 2. Kimmy just went home at the final 6. And this is a good plan, because if it works, that they could get maybe Tasha and Jeremy to vote out Spencer. And so Kelly gives the fake idol to Keith Nail, but Keith Nail's sort of like, I'm not going to use a fake idol. That's kind of cheap, you know. Maybe like if Kelly maybe told Keith Nail, this is a real idol. Maybe if Kelly did like what we saw Matthew do in the last episode, like, oh my God, Keith, look at this. You just found the idol. Like maybe he ultimately, like you can't let Keith Nail in on the plan. Ultimately, Keith Nail doesn't even try to play it at the final 5. And ultimately, Keith is going to go to back to the house. Okay. But here comes the big one. Okay. This is the one that kind of changes everything. We talked about the big TV moment that was the effing stick. But was it a good strategic moment for Ozzy? Probably not so much. Probably Ozzy's better off just to take the hidden immunity idol and then just leave nothing behind. And everybody's like, oh, that stupid idiot, Jason. He went to the Exile Island. He can't even find the hidden immunity idol. What a moron. Instead, we get some evidence trail that leads back to Ozzy. Here, Survivor Millennials versus Gen X. Enter David Wright, because now the Venn diagram of good TV and good strategy is now 2 circles on top of each other, because David Wright is going to have one of the biggest moments of Survivor Millennials versus Gen X when we get down to the final 6. Okay, we have Jay, one of the most dangerous players left in the game. They just flushed his idol at the final 7. And everybody's like, we got to stop Jay, because if Jay gets any further, he's got a lot of friends on the jury. He's going to win. David Wright, he has a plan.
I've been stealing all of these beads and shells for a while now. I've been taking them off of tribal torches. I've been taking them off of water bottles.
He's been collecting beads when everybody's sleeping. David Wright, he says in a confessional, well, there's no more immunity idols left in the game, but I'm gonna like mess with Jay here. I know he's found idols before in the game. He is going to, and Jay has too, he's going to take a coconut, paint the coconut. He's got the hidden immunity idol. He's been working on it. It looks amazing. And then in the morning, Jay is up. He's looking for the idols, and it is a expertly narrated scene. It is an expertly edited scene. It's just really, really fun stuff. Jay walks past the coconut. David is saying, I think he saw the coconut. Jay goes over. He rips out the hidden immunity idol. He's got it. He's feeling great. He's safe. David Wright is ecstatic. Jay found the thing. And ultimately, Jay says, I've got a train of losers following me. They don't know. So Jay's feeling really, really good about the whole thing. And ultimately, at the final 6, Jay's trying to, Jay acts like, of course, he thinks he has the real idol. So he's trying to get the tribe to vote out Brett. Ultimately, they don't bite on that. Jay plays the fake hidden immunity idol.
This is not a hidden immunity idol.
Jay has great reactions to it. It's a wonderful television and is a celebrated move for David Wright. And now we got a little taste of, okay, we got somebody with a fake idol again, and it was amazing television, and it was a decent move, and now we want more. We want more people getting duped by the fake hidden immunity idol, okay? So now Survivor is going to be playing around with trying to like make the idols look worse throughout the 30s. Like we're in Fiji now at this point, starting with millennials versus Gen X, and now we're also at an era where there's going to be a ton of idols. And also, we're going to try to be making the idols look as though they could be made by the players so that we could have as much confusion as possible around the fake hidden immunity idol. In Survivor Game Changers, Debbie goes to exile. She wins a visit from Cochran. She has an option to be able to pick a prize that Cochran is going to give her. She has the option to pick a fake idol making kit. Really, the first time that Survivor is providing to the players, Debbie does not accept it. She picks an extra vote. But it's the first time we see that Survivor saying, like, here, did you want to try to make a fake idol maybe? Like, you could get somebody with it. It's so interesting because I went back and I was watching the Gabon reunion show to hear Bob talk a little bit more about the fake idols that he made. And Jeff is like incredulous when Bob says, oh, I took some beads from here and I took some string. And Jeff's like, I just, because we don't give you anything. Like Jeff was like saying like, hey, we make sure you don't have anything to be able to do something like this. And now we have now reached the point where now Survivor is like, how do we get you to do more of this? Like we were preventing you from doing it. Now, how can we get you to do more? How do we get the next David Wright making a fake idol for Jay? I mean, we're going to, spoiler alert, Survivor Ghost Island, we're going to literally bring that exact fake idol back into the game as another fake idol because we're so thirsty for it. In addition, Survivor HHH, Ben's going to find a lot of real idols, but I think the interesting thing here in HHH is that Chrissy gets basically a super idol that's good for only one tribal council, but the added benefit, it tells her in the note that, hey, after this first tribal council, you can now use this as a fake idol moving forward. So now we have something that is an honest to goodness idol given to you by production. And now with the express purpose of like, okay, now you can use it to trick other people in the game. The thing that Tony took advantage of in Survivor Cagayan, which seemed kind of like a production loophole, is now part of the game here by season 35. And of course, Ben's going to be finding a bunch of idols. They try to use that same fake idol on Ben, but he has the real one. He doesn't fall for it. Just gets more mad ultimately that they're trying to trick him with this fake idol. Ghost Island, big season for fake idols, risking your votes. I think that Ghost Island really, I think, is sort of the thing that's starting to bring us even more into what we would now call the new era. I mentioned David Wright's fake idol comes back as a fake idol here in this season, that we're going to see Damabate try to use that. They kind of, this is not really part of the edited show, but he does try to pawn it off on Donathan. And I think that there is some bad blood that happens ultimately between Donathan and Dominic at that final 6 tribal council, where that Dominic is trying to get Donathan to play that fake hidden immunity idol. Also, though, Damabate, interestingly, has the real hidden immunity idol early on, okay? At Navidi, he has the real hidden immunity idol. Chris Noble is hot on his trail. Damabate, then, to kind of get Chris Noble off of his trail, does something interesting. He makes a fake idol, but wraps it in the real clue. And in my researching here today, I feel like that this is the first time in Survivor history we see somebody take a fake idol and wrap it in the real clue. He doesn't use it to dupe Chris Noble, but he feels like, okay, I'm now Chris Noble. I have a fake that I can give to him at any point. He doesn't want Chris Noble to inspect it. And he says, I'll play it on you.
By showing him the paperwork that goes with an actual idol, it distracted him from even looking at the fake idol. And seeing his reaction, I knew I had him.
But ultimately, Chris Noble still thinks that something is fishy. Damabate has a real idol and he has a fake idol, and he shows Chris Noble the fake idol with the real paper on it. It doesn't really end up having a big impact on the season, but it's interesting that it happens. In David versus Goliath, fake idols aren't really working too great here. Nick Wilson makes a fake idol at the front that he then makes a fake idol that he finds in front of a bunch of people. And he's like, oh, I guess, Christian, you don't have to look for the idol, because, tries to pull the same thing that David Wright pulls with Jay. Kind of backfires, because now Davey thinks that Nick Wilson has 2 idols, and Davey starts to work on trying to blindside Nick Wilson. Ultimately, they get back on the same page, but Angelina is going for the big TV moment. She is going to try to make the fake hidden immunity idol, and she wants to plant it. And Mike White is dying of embarrassment through this whole thing. But Angelina really, that she wants to like make a point to the jury of, okay, I have slayed Allison, and Allison is going to play this very obviously hidden fake immunity idol, and she really wants her to do that. It's a great character moment for Angelina, but I think also is the kind of thing that only further hurts Angelina's chances with the jury, the way that she tried. And as she says that she wasn't trying to embarrass Allison, but it does seem pretty much like, okay, I'm going to use this as one last chance to sort of dunk on Allison, which is, I think, a lot of the ways that people have tried to use the fake hidden immunity idol. I'm going to use it as a way to, embarrass my rivals in the game, which ultimately in a game where the jury has to vote for you at the end, like that is a flawed strategy. In the Edge of Extinction, Rick Devens, much like Ben before him, he's finding a bunch of idols. I had the pleasure of talking to Rick Devens this week on the podcast. I got to talk to him about this a little bit. Rick, towards the end of that game, Rick had already been voted out once. He comes back from the Edge of Extinction. His original tribe doesn't want to work for him. He's like scratching and clawing throughout the whole game. People are freezing him out. Nobody really wants to work with him. That Ron Clark tries to give him the fake advantage menu and tells him it's real. Again, just as a way to, I don't know if maybe to prevent Rick from running around and looking for idols. Rick is able to kind of turn that around on Ron and say, like, Ron, were you trying to make me look stupid in front of my kids by doing that? He has a real idol, but for the sake of this conversation, the fake hidden immunity idol, Rick Devens is going to make not one, but two fake hidden immunity idols. And he's able to plant them and able to get Julie and Lauren to both find a fake hidden immunity idol. Now, for Rick, who's at the bottom, like, this is kind of interesting what he's able to do. Now, Rick himself will tell you that not a ton of strategic benefit, but a couple of interesting things that he was able to, hold off Julie and Lauren from going to go out and look for the real idol. And he also said that it was a benefit for him because really the case was being painted to the jury. Rick doesn't know what's going on. And for one tribal council, he was able to paint a picture where he was the only one that actually knew what was going on, as everybody else was playing fake idols. Not to mention, he's also talking about in the show about how he's getting like some energy from like creating this mischief, where back when it was a 39-day game, maybe you would need like a little extra boost. But that brings us really to the new era. Okay. And so in the new era, we have seen fake idols come about. Okay. Not major implications so far in the new era with fake hidden immunity idols. Ricard made one to be able to get Genie not to think that they have tampered with a beware advantage. Also, Xander famously to try to prevent the idol from being stolen with knowledge is power, also makes a fake immunity idol as a decoy. I do think that that might be the way that we might see maybe fake idols ultimately used more here in the new era, as knowledge is power becomes more and more of a thing. Maybe you might need a number of fake idols so you could really like have the shell game going on of not only like who has the real idol, but maybe throwing people off the scent of knowledge is power by passing around the fake idol. Xander kind of does that here. Of course, we remember the moment where Liana asks Xander if he has the idol. He says, no, but you could have this fake one. And I don't, ultimately the fake one, just a little bit of a prop there in that whole charade. In Survivor 42, Romeo also had a fake idol. It was not super effective. And I talked to Mike Turner on the last week's recap of the podcast. He said, nobody really believed that Romeo's fake idol was actually anything. I think that Romeo might have been selling it a little too hard. And also, Mike said, Romeo was the decoy vote for so many votes. It was like, boy, you had an idol this whole time and you never played it. You must have cojones of steel, my friend, because that everybody's like, all right, if Romeo has an idol, he would have played it at some point. So it is an important thing to keep in mind when you're trying to sell the idol. But as we get into Survivor 44, and not really any fake idol business in Survivor 43 that I can recall. The only thing that I'll say is I do feel like that Survivor, by making the immunity idols out of beads from a backpack, I really do feel like that they were trying to manufacture, maybe there being some sort of like a questioning of, okay, a person has made an idol out of beads. Is that real? No, that's not real. You just took the beads off my backpack. Like, they've taken the thing that people have used the ingredients to make a fake idol are the beads on everybody's backpack. And in Survivor 43, they kind of turned that on its head and said, what if that is the idol? And I do think that maybe they are hoping for some sort of confusion. And when we talk about like from things we've learned from the Jeff Probst podcast, I think they do try to reverse engineer the outcomes. And with the way that the fake idols have been put into the game this season, where the fake idols are doppelgangers of the real idols, I do feel like that Survivor is desperately hoping for some sort of a conversation, two people with identical things, and there being some sort of an argument. I have the real idol. Like, I know that we have Carson saying that he's Tom Holland Spider-Man, but I do think that Survivor is eventually hoping for some kind of a face-off Spider-Man meme of, I have the real idol. No, I have the real idol. And I think that that's something that they are hoping to see as we get more idols that are looking similar to what are potentially the fake idols But now we get to this week in particular, where we had not one, but two different players working with fake idols in different ways. We have Danny. He ultimately got the birdcage open, got a real idol, got a fake idol. Now, did the thing that a lot of people were predicting could happen this season, a lot of people hoping to see it happen, I think the producers included, of now, okay, somebody is going to put the fake idol back in the cage, lock the cage, hide the key, wait for somebody else to find the key. And that's what happened with Matt Blankenship. And what's interesting for Matt was based off of my exit interview with Claire. It was like that Matt finding the fake hidden immunity idol was a little bit like him finding the real hidden immunity idol. That according to Claire, Matt was the person who was the Soka target for most of the first few days of the game. But now Danny, who seems to be the person who's running Soka, has a change of heart of like, well, I can't lose Matt now. That's my mark. I got so much invested in this. All this work is for nothing to vote out Matt with the fake hidden immunity idol. So now the target, I believe, ultimately shifted to Claire because Danny now has to protect Matt, the guy who ultimately he's hoping to dupe in some way down the road, which he does not know how or when this will happen. But for Matt, it's been all upside so far of finding the fake immunity idol, which you would think would be a negative outcome. But it ultimately, I think, saved Matt's life in the game this week. Now, on the other hand, we have Matthew, who knows about the fake hidden immunity idol in the birdcage from when Brandon found it. I don't know if that was any sort of inspiration for Matthew or if it was something that was on his Survivor bucket list. But he went ahead and made an old-fashioned fake idol from the beads on the torches, brought Jamie to go find it. And by doing so, she probably also has really locked up a position in this alliance where, you know, this is like, oh, you would think, oh, this is bad. That Jamie has found the fake immunity. Believe me, Matthew is not letting her go at this point. Like Matthew will change the vote. And maybe I'll be wrong about this. But Matthew, I believe, would change the vote to Lauren, Kane, even Brandon, I think, to keep Jamie into the game because he's put this investment into getting her to find the fake hidden immunity idol. So I really do feel like that, especially like this early in the game, finding the fake immunity idol is actually not a bad thing, even if you don't know that you have the fake hidden immunity idol. Now, for the people who are doing it, you know, I'm still not convinced that this is a great strategic boost to their game. Now, they're going to have to spend a lot of energy and social capital now trying to protect these players, these unwitting victims of theirs, to get them further and further into the game so that they can get a return on investment for all this chicanery that they're doing. And yes, while they are making great TV with what they're doing, and believe me, as a person who podcasts about the show for a living, it does not go unappreciated, the people who go out of their way to make great TV. But in terms of making great strategic moves, I doubt that we look back at the end of the season and see where this was something that was this huge boost to their game. Okay. And the more I've thought about it today, I think the person who might be best positioned to be able to get any sort of a gain from the fake idol might be the person who took that fake idol and put it in their pocket. And that's Carolyn. Because looking through the history of the fake idol, has not been a ton of strategic gains that have been made by the players who plant a fake idol. In fact, the only time in the history of the show that we have like this very good strategic move happened to be when David Wright got Jay to stop looking for the idol at the final six. But you could argue that maybe David Wright might have been better served to keep Jay in the game, and certainly would have been better served to go out and find the real hidden immunity idol that Adam is going to find and play at the final five. So throughout the history of the show, I believe the greatest strength that a fake idol gives a survivor is by convincing the other players that you have a real one when you don't. As Bob Crowley himself said after he made that first idol back in Gabon, it's sort of like when you're holding up a bank. You don't necessarily need the gun. If they think you've got a gun, they might leave you alone. And the key word is might. The fake idols are fun, but they have a really low success rate of working, and they could leave potential jurors with hard feelings, even if your plan is perfectly executed. The fake idols, to me, are a lot of sizzle, but it's not a whole lot of stake. That's why, for all of the time and energy spent by Survivor players making fake idols, the most successful fake idol play in the history of the show might have been Rupert putting a rock in his cargo shorts back in Heroes versus Villains. Very much looking forward to seeing how all of this fake idol business is going to play out in this week's episode of Survivor. It looks like that there are some twists maybe coming and perhaps a return to Shipwheel Island. I've been making predictions for the episode in this spot here, but I think that I may hold off on predictions over the next couple of weeks until we get to the merge. Otherwise, I'm really just like picking out who I think might be the weakest players in the tribe, and that's not a super fun way to do predictions. We're getting so little of like the actual tribal dynamics of these three different tribes. It makes it very difficult to be able to say anything informed prediction wise at this point in the game. So I'm going to hold off a little bit to go back to making predictions of what I think could happen next until we get at least to Mergatory. But this was really, really fun for me to go back and look at the history of the fake hidden immunity idol. I'm sure I missed stuff. If you have some other interesting points that you want to make, remind me of some things that I might have missed. I welcome the conversation. I'm at Rob Cesternino on Twitter. I read the comments for these videos on YouTube. And of course, in our Patreon Facebook group, I will post these episodes on Saturdays. And I love reading what you have to say. And if you like hearing about this type of content as much as I do, head on over to robhasawebsite.com/patron. Looking forward to getting into another episode of Survivor this Wednesday night. I will be back next week with another deep dive into a question based off of the episode number 4. So until then, take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.